So, do you fancy hearing some good news? Oh, couldn't we all do with hearing some good news at the minute, you know? Every time you turn on the news, you're like, what's going to have happened today? Is it going to be getting better? Is it going to be getting worse? You know, and we're kind of caught in this anticipation, I suppose, expectation as to what's going to happen next. And, you know, I've been, ever since they stopped doing those daily briefings, you know, when they all used to stand up and tell you all the good news and kind of maybe shuffle some of the not so good news under the table, I've been trying to track it myself and find out what's happening, particularly in relation to the virus and how it's spreading or not spreading or whatever. And there is some positive news in that countrywide, you know, the numbers of infected people are dropping and the number of deaths are dropping, and we know, you know, sometimes I think, oh, there's only been 50 deaths today, and then I think, oh, you know, there's 50 people, 50 families are suffering today, and it's awful. But I guess all of us are thinking, but at least it's not 200, at least it's not 900, at least it's not as bad as it was. So you're struggling to find good news. And then obviously over the last weekend, you know, tourism has opened and everyone's flooding to Cornwall, and you're thinking, oh dear, are they going to be bringing it with them? And is there going to be more bad news to follow? And don't we just sometimes want to be in a position where we can hear some good news? And where we can hear some good news that's actually going to be good for more than 5 minutes, because things change so quickly, and because what can be a good situation can turn into a bad situation so quickly, and all of that. So, you know, just hearing some good news for once would be great. And, you know, this is a church thing. This is coming from a church, and I'm talking to you as a church leader, and it's all too easy to just trip to the thing of, oh, Jesus is the good news, you know, and she's turning in her roundabout way of saying, well, you know, the only good news you need to hear is about Jesus. And that's true. That is true. And we will be talking about that. But I wonder sometimes what the perception of people that don't necessarily attach themselves or come to or have much to do with churches. I wonder what their perception is of how good the news is that we've got to bring. Because the reality is that I don't think we're seen very much as good news spreaders. So we will come into contact with people at really good times. Yeah. So, you know, when you think about it, one of the times that you might be in a church if you don't come to church is because you're there to celebrate somebody's marriage. You're in church because you're going to a wedding. And a wedding is a fantastic time. It's joyful and it's wonderful for that couple that are getting married. And the church can share in their joy. Or maybe a Christmas carol concert. I know I love going up to the Christmas carol concert at our local church, because it's nearly Christmas, because I love Christmas, and because it's really exciting, and because Christmas is coming and it's a joyous occasion, and that's where the church can join in joy. But maybe we're not quite so quick to be involved in being seen as a good news spreader, because other than those two occasions and maybe christenings, I guess a lot of times the time the church becomes involved in people's lives is when things aren't going so well, when we're mourning the death of somebody that we love at a funeral, or maybe not even that, but maybe people think of turning to the church more in crisis situations. You know, when things really aren't going well, when lives are really in trouble, or when food is short, you know, when you're going to Christian food banks, or those sorts of crisis situations. Maybe people think that when all else has failed, maybe the church can help in a crisis. But to be known as a spreader of good news, to be known as a place where you can go, where the crux of the matter, the thrust of the thing is that we're spreading good news. I don't know that we're known so much for that. I'm going to read from a passage today which I haven't done before, but this is from Luke chapter 9, and this is about Jesus sending out his disciples specifically to preach good news. It's quite short. It says, when Jesus had called the 12 together, he gave them power and authority to drive out all demons and to cure diseases. And he sent them out to preach the kingdom of God and to heal the sick. He told them, take nothing for the journey, no staff, no bag, no bread, no money, no extra tunic. Whatever house you enter, stay there until you leave that town. If people don't welcome you, shake the dust off your feet when you leave their town as a testimony against them. So they set out and went from village to village, preaching the gospel and healing people everywhere. Jesus is sending these disciples out with really, really good news. What he is saying is, I want you to take me to the places where you're going. I'm giving you authority to act as if you were me. And in the meantime, you know, between where we picked up passages in Luke last time and where we're here, Jesus has spent the whole time doing the doing. And for Jesus, doing the doing is bringing healing. It's bringing physical healing. It's bringing mental healing. It's bringing spiritual healing. It's bringing emotional healing. It's bringing people back into an experience where they can be all that they were always meant to be. We talked a little bit last time I was here about us being able to be the whole people that we were meant to be. And this is such good news. This is really, really good news. And here Jesus is talking to his disciples and he's saying, I want you to go out as if you were me. And what I do is that I make things better. I bring healing. I bring restoration. I bring saving. I'll save people from themselves because we're not capable of saving ourselves. All of those fantastically good things that Jesus does, he is now saying to his disciples, I want you to go forward and I want you to be bringing this incredibly good news to the people that you're going to be in contact with. But I wonder sometimes whether we've lost, you know, we kind of overcomplicate things. We overcomplicate how life with Jesus is. And the more we overcomplicate it, the further away we get from that fundamental good news. And the good news is that Jesus wants to be with us. The good news is that Jesus wants to turn us into the people that we were always designed to be. The good news is that Jesus wants you to be more than you could ever have imagined that you could be. But how does that look? How does that look? Let's look at some really simple basics, some simple things that maybe we can imagine and maybe we can understand and maybe we can get to that place where we say, actually, yeah, I really want this. Actually, yes, this sounds like a good idea to me. Because the thing is, it's not going to ever be for everybody. The passage makes that clear. Some people won't be interested. But I guess more people will be interested than we think might be interested. But to be interested, you need to know how it looks. You need to know how it feels. And so I've just been thinking about a couple of those things. And one of the things that Jesus says of himself, he calls himself lots of different things. But one of the things that he said one day, he said, I am the light of the world. And whoever comes to me need never walk in darkness. Well, what does that mean? Okay, so imagine light. Imagine you're outside and maybe, I don't know, let's relate it to me. Maybe you're working in your vegetable garden. Maybe you haven't got a vegetable garden. You should have a vegetable garden. They're amazing. And you're working in your vegetable garden, but it's one of those wonderful British summer days, which means that it's cloudy and it's a little bit overcast. And if you live up here, it's incredibly windy. And you're still enjoying what you're doing. Maybe you're picking your broad beans. So you're still enjoying what you're doing. But then the sun breaks through the clouds and you can feel the warmth on your back. And it just makes everything better. You were okay before, but this sun breaking through and warming your back makes everything better. That's what life with Jesus is like. That's what the good news is about. Or maybe you've been out for one of those winter walks, you know, it's like we're all going stir crazy in the house. We need to get out. So you've gone out and it's blustery and it's windy and it's maybe rainy and it's freezing. And you've gone and you've had your exercise, you've had your walk, and then you come back in to your house. And, you know, I guess underfloor heating, I don't know, I've never had it. I guess underfloor heating is an amazing thing, but wouldn't you just want to be sitting by an open fire and watching the flames flicker and feeling the warmth of the fire and the light from the fire heat up your toes and bring some feeling back to your fingers? That's what life with Jesus is like. That's the good news. Or maybe we often talk about the journey, don't we? It's the journey is on the well, not the news, but in media all the time. Oh, we've been on a journey. So maybe you've got a really important appointment to keep on the other side of town, and you're walking to your appointment, but it's nighttime, and it's pitch black, and there's no street lights. And you've been to this place maybe before, and you know roughly where you're going. And you've tried to set out in the right direction, but it's a struggle. It's a struggle to find your way to your destination, and then somebody hands you a torch and you switch the torch on and you can see. And it's easy to get to your destination. You know where it is that you are supposed to be going. That's what life with Jesus is like. That's good news. Jesus wants to, even if we think that actually our souls and our bodies and our minds aren't in that bad a shape, Jesus wants to bring us so much more. Jesus wants to bring us this amazing healing, this amazing restoration, this thought that we know where we're going now. Because our ultimate destination is clear, because one day we're going to be with Jesus, and in the meantime he's never ever going to leave us or let us be on our own or leave us to struggle. He's always going to be there regardless of what might hit. So in this world of incredibly bad news, to be able to live a life where you know that whatever coronavirus can do, ultimately you're going to be okay, that's good news. That's got to be good news. And then just a little bit on how do we go as people that have decided to follow Jesus? How do we go? And something for people that might be on the edges too, because Jesus talks a lot about how to go. He doesn't just say to his disciples, right, off you go, be me, heal people, drive out demons, heal the sick, bring the gospel, tell people about me. He tells them how to go in that passage, and he says in it, take nothing for the journey, no staff, no bag, no bread, no money, no extra tunic. He tells us to leave our baggage behind. Now I remember being you know, I used to be really good at that. I remember being 20 and going away for the weekend, and you know, if I picked up my toothbrush and a clean pair of pants and shoved them in my back pocket, I was sorted. I had everything I needed for a weekend. That would do me. I guess now if I go off for the weekend, probably the bag that I have to fill with my blooming tablets and, you know, indigestion remedies and goodness knows what else, that's probably bigger than my whole luggage would have been in my 20s. I tend to take a lot of stuff with me. But Jesus specifically says here, don't take your baggage with you. There's two things that I think he's meaning that. Don't take your baggage with you. And I think the first thing is for us as Christians, because the thing is, the more baggage that we take with us, the less room there is for Jesus. And I don't think that most people have an issue with Jesus. I think what they have an issue with is the way that Christianity appears, is the way that we have historically and even sometimes now given this impression of what being a Christian has to look like, and it can't possibly be this, and it has to look like this, and you can't do this, and you must do that, and all of that sort of stuff. And that can be baggage that we take with us that doesn't leave much room for Jesus to come along too. And what Jesus says to us, particularly as followers of him, is put all that stuff down. Just let people see me. And when they've seen me, they can make their own mind up. Don't make it more complicated than it needs to be by taking a load of baggage with you. But Jesus also says, don't take your baggage with you, because he offers to take it for us. Because what Jesus says is, if you come to me with whatever it is that's weighing you down, with whatever it is, whatever burden you've got that means that it is hard to walk through life, he says, give it to me and I'll take it for you. Give me your hurts. Give me your worries. Give me your concerns. Give me the things that stop you from coming to me, even if that's hurts or worries or concerns that have been caused by the church. Jesus says, I want to take all that from you. Jesus says, I don't want you to be weighing yourself down with baggage that will actually have no eternal significance to you at all. I don't want you to have to be weighed down with the things that this society says that you have to have, with the way that this society says you have to live. I don't want you to be weighed down with any of that. I want you to put that down, and I will take it for you. And in the place of that, I am going to give you peace, and I'm going to give you direction. And I'm going to give you a sense that you never need to worry about where you're going anymore, because I'm going to tell you where to go. And I'm going to give you joy. And I'm going to be that light that shines, that fire that's going to warm you up, that feeling of the sun on your back. Isn't that good news? Isn't that good news that's actually going to be of use to us for more than 5 minutes? There's the good news that Jesus offers all of us today. God bless.